Hello and welcome to the session. In this video I want to discuss what the def init method does, with reference to self as well. Of course, if you're new to object orientation, you probably might have seen this around. We use it in most custom classes, but this is also used in a lot of the built-in classes as well. So to give you some references to kind of what's going on, give you a bit of wider context, let's create a very simple custom class, and without even writing an init method, I'm just going to write pass here. And then the first thing I want to do, to show you what's going on, is run this dir function. And dir shows you all the methods and attributes of something. So really briefly, say if I did str, these are all the methods and attributes of the string class. So there's all the various methods there, for example. If I replace person with this guy here, let's just quickly clear the terminal and hit run. We still have a list of blunder methods. This is because our custom class, by default in Python 3, we inherit from the base object class. So by default, we've been given a load of methods which our class already has, which is pretty cool. Now, the two I want to draw your attention to are new and init, which is just hiding here on the, there it is there, just hiding there. So what happens behind the scenes, to give you a bit of background, is new, it's called first. And this does things like allocate memory and basically set up the variable ready. And then after that, effectively what happens is this init method is automatically called. And the job of init is to basically tell an instance how to set up. So basically it's like new comes along, allocates the memory, and gives space for the variable to exist. Once that's done, init is called, and then any setup of the instance then comes along and happens. So if we define our own init method, we can tell an instance of our class, here's how you set yourself up. That's all init does. Init basically means here's how to get ready or how to set up. That's why some people call it the constructor, because effectively it's constructing the instance. So let's remove this. And let's go ahead, and I can be really lazy, and just put this guy down here. And let's just do self.name is equal to John here. And this brings us on to our second point, is what is self? And self is an interesting word. It doesn't have to be self, by the way. Self's just kind of like a convention, like how people do like for I in something for a for loop. Self is just a convention. And self, by default, is always the first argument to init. So in this case here, we've implemented our person class, and we're saying when someone makes an instance of this, of course we know from this that init is going to be called straight away. And then the first thing init receives is self. This is where things get a little tricky, so I want to do this with an example. Self, I'm going to write this here, self is basically a reference to the instance here. So let me just go ahead and make an instance real quick. If I say x is equal to person, and then if I then go ahead and just print x, let's just do, I'm just going to do these just so we can see it a bit more clearly in the terminal. So when I print off an instance of a person, I'll print off some exclamation marks and then x. So we hit run. We see main is a person object, and then this is our memory address here. Then if I come into the init method, and then say if I just do print in init method, and then let's print self, and let's see what we get. So this is from the init method, and look at the memory address. So it ends in 650, and so does this one. So self in here, when we printed it, and then x down here, we printed it. They're both exactly the same thing. So this kind of proves the point that self is just a reference back to the instance. And that's of course because, the memory addresses are the same thing here. And then, so in init, we said self.name is equal to John. So we're saying x's name is equal to John. So let's do print x.name. Let's hit run. John, that's it. So when we say self.name is equal to John, of course self comes from here. All that meant was the instance, which was created of this class, in this case x, we basically said when it's set up, whichever variable that was, that's now going to have an attribute of name, and the value of that attribute is going to be John. So when we said here, x is equal to a person, cool, that's it. This effectively called this sort of new and init chain, therefore x has the attribute of name, and therefore x's name is equal to John. Now, in practice, most people tend to kind of pass things in here, so let's remove that and then let's have a go. So let's suppose I wanted to do name and age here. So let's just do pass for the time being and just hit run to show you something. So this here, so see this person.init method, this kind of message. This has come up because it's saying, well, this method required these additional things and we didn't pass them. So it's saying it's missing 2 required arguments, name and age. So what that's saying is we need something here. So let's pass in John, and let's say John is 36. So self, that's just a reference back to x. So, x will come to this later. John goes in as name. 36 goes in as age. And then what we can do is we can say, okay, those things you just took in, John 36, give those to x. So self, of course, the reference back to x, self.name, we can set equal to name. And then let's say self.age, that'll be equal to age. And let's hard-code one. Let's just say self.town. Actually, let's do self.city. We'll do my city. Self.city is equal to Liverpool here. So we're fetching these two when we create the instance, and then we're hard-coding this one. And then just to show all this, we can do the, let's do vars of x. Vars, by the way, that basically accesses all the attributes to the dictionary. So we can see that our instance x of the person class, that has attributes name, age, and city. And those come from here. So we passed in John 36, which went into init as name and age. We then said, okay, self.name, so with the variable x, x's name attribute is equal to name, which we passed in, so John. X's age attribute is equal to age, which is passed in, therefore 36. And then x's city attribute, that's been hard-coded, so we can't do anything here to alleviate that. That's always going to be Liverpool here. So in a nutshell, that's what def init does. Just to recap, kind of if I was to summarise it in a sentence, it's a method that's called automatically when you create an instance, and it can either, I'd say in most cases, it takes in some additional parameters, it then assigns those as attributes to an instance of your class. Cheers for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.